Today I'm going to be talking about how I got my Masters of Science in Mechanical Engineering for free in the United States. That's right, zero tuition, fully funded. So if you're interested in grad school or if you're just interested in how I pulled this off, then this video is for you. How's it going? My name is Kieran. I came to the US as an international student athlete and now I work as an engineer for a Fortune 500 company. And if I'm completely honest, I credit a lot of where I am, especially in my career, to my experience as a master's student. Let's rewind back to 2020, and just like many of you guys watching, I was also navigating the chaos of the pandemic. I remember I was in Florida. I had gotten an email from my university saying, don't come back to university, go home. And unfortunately for me, home is very, very far away in Australia. And I just wasn't really content with what I had studied during my undergrad, so I really wanted to do my master's. However, I didn't have the privilege of having an athletic scholarship, and my parents had already been supporting me for the last 4 years. So paying tens of thousands of dollars for my master's wasn't really on the table. In the next few minutes, I'm going to be talking about how I went from that situation to now having a fully funded master's degree. Now, I wanted to preface this by saying that I did do my master's in engineering, so this is going to be very heavily geared towards those in the STEM field. Now, the very first thing that I did was reach out to my friends that were already doing their master's and kind of ask them, like, how are they funding themselves? And the most common answer was through a position known as the research assistant position, or a graduate research assistant. Now, what this position entails is that a student will work in a lab for about 20 hours a week, and in return they'll get paid, the tuition will be covered, and they'll also get their health insurance covered, all while studying as well. Sounds too good to be true, but these things exist. Kind of going back, what is a fully funded position? And it goes back to what I just said. No tuition, so tuition is covered. You get paid a monthly stipend that covers your living expenses, and then you also get health insurance coverage. That's fully funded. Now, how do you find these fully funded positions? If you're in a position like myself where you had some friends studying, you can ask them. But if you don't have that luxury, I would start by looking at R1 research institutions. You can quickly Google this. R1 research institutions are top tier research institutions that fully fund their graduate programs. And that's because they put a lot of funding to research, especially in the STEM field. And the good thing about these positions is that even if you're domestic or international, it doesn't matter. Anyone can apply as long as they are qualified. Now, if a research assistant position, like working in a lab for 20 hours a week, is a little bit too much because you have to balance that with studies, there is another option called a teaching assistant position, which is kind of similar, but instead of working in the lab, you'll be working in a classroom, like grading homework, assignments, maybe proctoring exams, or even sometimes teaching classes. These ones aren't usually fully funded, but they do give a generous hourly wage. So now you know what the research assistant position is, how to find the universities. Now let's talk about how do you actually get this position. The most crucial thing about this entire process is to reach out to the professor in charge of the research group. Now, this is completely separate from admissions. Now, how you would find this is you would go to the university and then you would go to the department that you're interested in doing research and see what sort of research that they do. You really have to look at the department page of the university and not just admissions, because that's not where the roles are going to be. Now, if you see research which seems very interesting to you, you should reach out to the professor and see if they have any open positions. And if they do have open positions, they'll get back to you. And if they don't, hopefully they still get back to you, but that just means that you have to find another position elsewhere. They can't create these positions. Usually they have to be open. Now, sometimes they do advertise their positions, and most of the time it's for PhD students. However, just like myself, there are fully funded master's student positions, so don't let that make you hesitant to reach out to the professor. Now, once you've reached out to the professor and they've told you a little bit about research and you've told them that you're interested, they're going to ask you to apply to the university. So they're not going to give you that role until after you're done with the admissions process. So for myself, I applied through the university, and then I extended my application to the research position to the professors. Maybe not all universities do this. I know another university I applied to, you would, on the admissions page, just tick a box that said, yes, I'm interested in research. It'll be different. The only difference between what I did is that I submitted a resume and letters of recommendation just like it was a job. In addition to that, a lot of the time, just in grad school in general, you are going to be submitting a statement of purpose. And this is kind of like, why should you be selected to study? In that same statement of purpose, you should put why should you be picked to do a research assistant position. Found the university, you've reached out to the professor, you've gone through admissions, when do you find out? And just like your undergrad, when you receive your acceptance letter, you're going to also be notified of whether you got the research assistant position. But this is why it's so crucial to reach out to the professor and have a clear line of communication. In my case, I kind of knew that I was going to get the position because the professor kept reassuring me. I could imagine like I would have a lot more anxiety if I had only reached out to them once and had no follow-up with them. When I got my letter back, the front said, congratulations, you've been accepted to so-and-so university. And then I flipped the page and it said, we want to offer you a research assistant position. It's going to pay you this much every month. We're waiving your tuition and we'll cover your health insurance. So it was great, and I hope you run into that situation as well. And if you don't get the research assistant position, don't worry. Although you may have to pay out of pocket or even take out a loan for the first semester or two, I know many people that got a research assistant position or at least a teaching assistant position after 1 or 2 semesters in the program. So, something is better than nothing. Just keep trying and keep persisting. So that's all I had for the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And remember, if someone tells you that they only fund PhD programs, tell them no. People also fund master's students. All right, have a good one.